Welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, a platform where we have invited Spirit to share messages, healings, and transmissions with all of us. May this energetic experience help us to expand our awareness and to deepen the relationship we have with our higher self, our spiritual team, and with Source, however we define them. Thank you for being here and for taking part in this amazing journey. Hello and welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit. My name is Daniel Martinez-Stahl. We are in episode 10 of season 8 with Megan and Olivier. And I will let them introduce themselves to you and then we will take it from there.
Okay.
All righty.
Well, I'm Megan.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. I'm Olivier. Okay.
Now that we got that out of the way, all right,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
go.
yeah.
You would have been guessing, hey?
Right?
Which one? Which one?
So I know that
I love about the fact I'm Olivier and this is Megan. Our initials spell and right from the start, it's always been about the sound with us, and is the sound. People who go on have experienced near-death experiences, they come back saying, all I could hear was the constant . This is why that Sanskrit syllable is so sacred. It's because it's like that's the sound of creation. And I feel like that's what we tune into as often as we can, is the sound of creation. And that's what we want to bring through when we play for you. So
I like that. That's a nice introduction.
I've heard that Om is the sound of this universe, specific to this universe. Now, whether or not, I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, that's what I wanted to say. I knew it would come back.
Yay!
I knew it would come back. And so for people that are listening to the recording, I was having a conversation with somebody in the group before we started the recording, and something popped out of my head. It literally just disappeared as I was about to say it, and it just came back. So I was in a beautiful conversation with Jamie Butler, who was channeling Michael Newton, talking about his book. She's got this book club where she speaks to the dead people who wrote books. It's awesome. And so we were having a conversation with Michael Newton about his book, Journey of Souls, which is one of my favorite books, which I recommend to anybody and everybody that's interested in this world to read. They're incredible, incredible books. And at one point, somebody asked him a question about how does he view his work now that he's on the other side? Specifically all of the models and the structure and the guides and the, all of that kind of structure that he presents. And he said that, and I'm completely paraphrasing here because this was a couple of years ago, but what he said was something on the lines of, it's akin to a little child's drawing. Like a little kid's gonna draw a house, right? And it's a house. It's not a very detailed, accurate, lifelike looking drawing, but it's a house. And we are on this journey, on this path, as humans in this incredible experience of life, on this vibrant, emotional ride in this beautiful planet that makes that possible for us. And we do so with a very limited understanding of what is happening behind the scenes. And though we are stepping into a time of life here on Earth where we're going to have more visibility of what's happening behind the scenes, we're still going to be little kids, Instead of being, the 3-4-year-olds drawing a house, we're going to be like, maybe 8 or 9-year-olds drawing a house. So we're expanding incredibly, but yet part of going into a physical form is about having that aspect of separation. It's that having that aspect of something other than what we are used to in our spiritual self, in our soul self, in our higher self form, so that we can explore and experiment and play and create and innovate. And
Yeah.
so I love this idea of remembering that we're little kids, you know, our understanding, even when we say, "Oh, this feels so true," it's only just, you know, a sand, just a little bit of sand in the beach. It's just, it is true, but it isn't the whole story. It isn't the totality of it. And so for me, this is really important because it reminds me of being gentle on myself, being soft on myself, not judging myself, and recognizing that, you know, I'm just an innocent little child doing the best that I can with what I have. And
And
what
the
I have,
innocence is key, I feel, Daniel. Like I love that. You know, like the
I,
innocence, you know, the way children
yeah,
create, and they're just in that pure creation all the time, you know, it's imagination, or they just like receiving from the universe and receiving from their own hearts, and they're just like, this is fun, I'm going to do more of it. And I love, like, you know, it's so inspiring to hang around little ones. You know, Megan's niece, 3.5, hanging out with her, I could spend all day, no problem, because it's just this constant creation of fun, just more fun things to do. Like, wow, I love it. And, you know, this word innocence, I also hear it as two words, like inner sense, that we have this inner sense of what's right and what's aligned and what's fun and what's joyful. Pam loves that. That's great. But it is, it's like there's this divine guidance that, you know, that children, especially the young ones who have only just come from that other side of the veil, they're still remembering who they are in many, many ways. And they show us this inner sense of innocence. And it's such a beautiful place to come into the world from, or to approach our life from, is from that innocence. So yeah, thank you so much for bringing that, Daniel. Yeah. Yeah.
I am a big fan of recognizing our innocence. I'm a big fan of pointing that out. It's something that Sydney Banks always talks about in his conversations, in his work. We are innocently engaging in situations. We are innocently doing the best that we can, given the thinking we believe to be real. We are innocently moving through the world with the limited perspective that we perceive to have. And we are innocently making decisions based on that limited understanding, based on that limited point of view, based on that limited perspective. But we are
And when we
doing that.
grant ourselves like that freedom. And we gave the title of our talk today, For the Love of Freedom. You know, we let ourselves off the hook, and then there's freedom there. It's like I'm just innocently creating with what feels joyful and what feels fun. And there doesn't have to be a result from it, you know, a tangible result from it. It's just, I'm just creating, innocently creating, just like children do at the beach, you know, when they make sandcastles. It's not to create something that's going to be still there when they're 50 years old and there's a legacy they'll pass on to their children. No, it's just for the love of creating, you know, that innocent creation
In the
and the
moment.
freedom of that.
Yeah.
It's it's so uplifting.
So, welcome, guys.
Very
Lovely to
much.
have you back.
It's wonderful to be here. I know. Do you remember last time that we met? We were in California.
Yeah, you guys were playing, you were doing the world tour.
Yeah. Here we are back in Portugal, which is such a beautiful place to be playing from. And I always feel, you know, the energy of the land comes through where we're playing. So I'll be curious too of what people feel as they receive it in terms of
Remind me which part of Portugal you guys are in?
the Algarve, the southern part of Portugal. So
Okay.
the southwest, so the very southwest corner of Europe. And the ancient name for Portugal is Lusitania, which to me means the country of light. And a friend of mine said when we moved here, you know, Portugal receives the light from the Atlantic, you know, the quantum light. It receives the light from that beautiful ocean that's just right where we live. And the light comes in, and we're like lenses here in Portugal and a prism. And the light then gets split and shone out to the rest of Europe. So it's like we get that first impulse of the light. And it feels amazing here. You know, Megan was just saying you want a walk just earlier, like the light's incredible. We get a lot of blue skies, but today it was a bit cloudier, and that brings its own beautiful textures and contrasts. And it really is a blessing here, you know, to receive that light. Mm. I can feel there's a presence coming in with us, and we might go a little bit quiet at different times, but there's certainly a presence of an energy that's all of us and all that is that will come through when we play, I feel. So I invite everyone on the call here now as well, and those on the recording, just to start feeling that, just coming into a space of stillness and starting to receive the energy that is here for us to receive.
Open invitation to both of you that if you ever feel during the conversation, if you feel inspired to channel an energy, feel free.
Thank you.
I know that you both do that in addition to channeling music. And sometimes that might not be as highlighted in your conversations with people, given that your music is so beautiful that it becomes the forefront of the message. So invitation for you guys to allow that to step forward if it wants to, whatever it might be.
Thank you, Daniel.
One of the things that I wanted to start with you guys is this idea of the love frequency. Last time you were here, we were talking about how you are both learning to live more and more each day into even more love for each other, for life, for everything. It permeates your experience so beautifully, and it saturates your experience so beautifully, and people feel it. I had a lot of comments afterwards that they could feel that, you know, when you talk about living from love, it was genuine. Like, yeah, I can tell. And I was talking with somebody earlier about the fact that I am on a quest to understand love more profoundly for myself. I'm on a quest not to hear things like everything is love, God is love, source is love, you are love, which is all true. And I say it with a bit of a mocking voice because all of that means nothing to me if I don't understand what love is to me. And so I'm on a personal quest to explore what that means for me, what that means to me, and how I can better understand when spirit says, oh, you are love, or the answer is found in love, or the energy of creation is love. And I understand that at a certain degree, at a certain level, but there's a depth of feeling that I want to really get. I want to play in that space to be able to understand it more in my way of understanding, which is unique to me. And not just these general concepts. But what I love about you guys is that you guys personify this. You guys are a beautiful example of shine your light without any intention of doing anything other than that.
Mm.
And we feel it. We recognize it. We can sense it. We can see it. We can perceive it. And it's like beautiful to be in your presence. It's beautiful to be in a conversation with you because of that, because it is so clear the space from which you are living, the space from which you are communicating from. It's so clear that it is so authentic, so genuine. And so I wanted to start with that.
Thank you.
As you were talking, and I think we touched on this last time, I have a memory of speaking with you about it, but maybe we did it in a dream, I'm not sure. You never know. When I hear a word, the way that I operate, when I hear concepts, very much like you, they don't mean anything to me unless I can feel it and embody it in some way. And what seems to have started to happen over the last few years is when I hear a word that I really want to understand what its essence is, like what does that actually mean? Like it's a label for something. So I want to understand what it means rather than just hear the label and kind of regurgitate that label until I can understand what it is and like hope that it will get deeper, is actually feel that word kind of almost absorbing through me or me absorbing through that word. The vibration, I think that's the core of it, is actually the vibration of the word. So I'll often, if there's a phrase, I'll feel which is the word that really is like that's where the pulse is. So love, in all of those phrases you said, was love. So I'll actually like take that in as if I'm drinking or as if I'm bathing in it and actually feel what that is and play with it. And I might repeat it in my body, like feel it kind of going in through my cells, like into my belly, and play with it like a child. Like you give a child something new and they'll just like, they've no idea what it is. So for, you know, like I don't know, paperclip is something that we've heard of lots of times, that you give a kid a paperclip and they've got like 100 things to do with a paperclip because they've no idea what it is. But, you know, when we're grown-ups, we have such a limited idea of what a paperclip does. We're like, well, it does this and that's it. So it's again coming back to this sense of, in a sense, the innocence of the child and just playing with it, like just being delighted by this new thing to explore or something that maybe isn't new, but it hasn't quite landed. So it's like, oh, love, 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 love. And like just playing with it, like Play-Doh, like all different rhythms and different ways of experiencing that word in my body. And that like it allows it to move through me in a way that when I just hear it or speak it, wouldn't go to that level. And it also holds my interest. If I'm just hearing people talk concepts, I will quite quickly switch off. But if I'm feeling it, if I'm feeling what they're saying and I can feel the words because there's real cohesion there between the words and the intention, I'm transfixed, I'm there. So I really feel for me, it's that like saturation and allowing myself to fully experience it in a playful way. I also had the image just at the end of while you were talking of like clear water. We know what clear water is like. We know when we have a glass of water, if it's got a bit of cloudiness in it, we probably don't want to drink it. You know, if the tap's really old and we're in like an old house that hasn't been, you know, no one's been in there for years, and you put the tap on, it kind of like splutters out and then it's kind of brown and then cloudy before it gets clear. We know what clear feels like. We know what really good feels like, whether it's love, whether it's trusting somebody, whether it's this is fun or whatever it is. We know whether it's true or whether it's kind of cloudy water. So we do, like, I always like to look for different analogies for how to tune my radar, because we all have such, I was just listening to a thing earlier that Mel Robbins was talking about, you know, she's the let them theory lady. I don't know if any of you heard of that, but she's worth looking up. And just hearing her say that again about how she believes that we all come in with a really amazing navigation system. And I completely agree with that. And I often call it the radar. And the issue isn't particularly that we don't have intuition. Like, it's not about developing the intuition. It's about actually learning to quieten enough. And I think loving ourselves enough to quieten enough to actually be able to hear what it's saying and follow that and not just argue with it all the time. Yeah. Which is another thing that I think is kind of like pertinent to say just now about that living in love presence. When I feel that dirty water coming through, like the rust coming through the taps, and I feel that argument in my body, you know, whether it feels like anger, whether it feels like frustration, whether it feels like, you know, a heaviness, that doesn't feel good to me. Like, I'm not saying like, just pretend anger doesn't exist, but I just know that doesn't feel good for me. So I know to keep that tap running until it's clear again, because I know what clear feels like. And essentially, we all know what love feels like. So to stay present, to stay present, to stay present. And then it's like, when I feel really joyful, like when you were talking about it, I just went into my mind and into my heart of my niece. Like, she's the easiest thing to just immediately bring love to my body. Like, she brings so much joy to me. So I immediately feel all this giggling and bubbling inside me. And to me, that's love, you know, and when I feel peaceful and safe, to me, that's love.
I love the metaphor that you use of the running water and to leave the tap on until the water gets clear, because what many of us tend to do, and again innocently, because this is what we've learned over time, because we've seen it from our parents, we see it in society, we see it from the movies and books and stories. But what we tend to do is we tend to put the cloudy, milky water in a glass, and then we look at the glass and we stay looking at the glass,
Yes.
as opposed to allowing the water to run, which is this free flow of energy of thought that's just running through us, and just allow that to run through, just waiting patiently and easily, just waiting for it to start shifting its energy back to clear. I love
Yeah.
that metaphor.
Thank you for taking that a step further, because now it's making me think of how, you know, when their water is in the glass and it's sitting down on the side, that's actually the past. And that's what we often look at, is we think it's what's happening, but it's the past. And then we look at the tap and that's the present. It's constantly moving, constantly running. And we often get stuck in that, like, oh, that's how it is. But it's just, no, that's the data that we've been used to, but there's more coming.
What's really interesting in the conversations talking about, you know, what's in the past, is that what happened 5 seconds ago is in the past,
Yeah.
right? And um, this is relevant to people that are kind of working with relationships where they say, be present with your partner, especially if there's some kind of a disagreement, being present. And, you know, the invitation is not to pull things out from the past. And they're like, I'm not pulling anything from the past, but they just said this. and,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, they just said this is in the past, you know. And it's really easy again to not recognize that what the invitation is not to get caught up in things that have been said or things that had happened, but to really just be present in the moment and be responsive to what is happening right now, not what happened 5 seconds ago or 15 seconds ago or an hour ago, or, you know, and I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but it just felt like it was relevant to bring up. So
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think of being on a sailing boat, and like, you have to be really present. Like, if there's weather coming in, you can't be thinking like, oh, did that like 5 minutes ago. It's like, it's irrelevant, it's gone. Like, just deal with what's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wind shifts and you need to adjust the sails. And
Yeah.
you can't adjust the sails for what happened, 15 feet back or 5 meters back,
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trimming the sails.
Hmm.
I think that a lot of I'm just going to say what I was going to say. A lot of what many of us do is that we forget that being present isn't about being passive. Exactly this metaphor of sailing, I think, is beautiful because when you are sailing, you're constantly trimming the sails depending on what's happening with the wind. You're constantly adjusting the ropes and you're constantly pulling it or releasing it. And there's telltales. There's these little strings on the sail that will tell you when things aren't aligned. Because either they go up or they go down.
Hmm.
And the sail is aligned when they're horizontal. And so you trim it. You pull it in or you pull it out. If it's down, then you do this. And if it's up, then you do this. And you adjust it until the strings start going horizontal, which is the optimum place to receive the energy of the wind. What a beautiful metaphor, right? Our emotions are our telltale. Our emotions will tell us when we're up and when we're down. And the horizontal in equivalence is a state of presence, of feeling aligned, of feeling connected, of feeling at ease, of feeling at peace, at feeling in love with the experience. That's the horizontal equivalent, right? But our emotions will tell us when we're off. That's one of the
And this
reasons
is
that
the
they're
thing,
there.
as the hand that guides the rudder, when you see the telltales are off and your emotions are letting you know it's not, we're not quite right here. Very often the kindest thing we can do is just to go for a walk, go out of that situation.
Maybe not from the boat.
Yeah, we're changing metaphors now.
Just
You know
leave it.
what?
Yeah,
Just
just
leave
leave
it. I'm jumping
I'm
out.
off.
Jumping in the life raft. Put in the thing. Bye.
All right, you guys are on your own.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. But maybe that's the thing, like just jump off, it's just like, because there's been on boats of like, when it feels like I'm in the middle of a storm and it's just like, what are these emotions? Like it's so stormy and it's like, it's not who I am and it's not who they are. Why are we in this storm together? Well, like just go away, just walk away from the storm.
This is a really good point that you're bringing, I feel. I feel like this is a really significant one for people on a personal relationship level, because this is something we've experienced through our relationship, that there was a point where, like, there was a lot of anger that was moving through me when we were first together. And I think it was probably that Olivier was the first person that I'd been with in a relationship that I felt completely safe. It's the classic thing. He got it all. I felt completely safe to really allow all the stuff that was unresolved to come up to be resolved. And I think it was being like in a storm a lot of the time for Olivier. And Olivier had the opportunity to hone his self-mastery. And when he learnt or realized that there were times when it was just to compassionately and lovingly walk away, that allowed me to really grow in a way that I'd not been able to when he was just trying to manage the storm. And that was a huge part of our love story, I think, because it's allowed us to be in a place where that doesn't really happen anymore. And it's certainly, if things come up, it's much more conscious and it doesn't have that wild, just crazy storm energy. Yeah.
I do
So
want
I think, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think there's times to know when it's like, this is a moment to walk away, but not in, you know, it's always the energy, you know, it's always the consciousness, you know, if you like storm out and go like, and throwing the rag in, whatever, throwing the towel in, that's, you know, that's going to leave a jarring thing. And I don't think we ever had that. But to just walk away compassionately and just know that this is a drama that is not to put more energy into, is just so incredibly loving.
Yeah. Sticking with the metaphor of sailing, it's the equivalent of, you don't want to jump out of the boat. What you want to do is bring the boat to shore and just let it sit there.
Mm.
And then walk off the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Yeah.
your partner wants to stay on the boat, great, let them stay on the boat.
But it's
But
safe.
lovingly and compassionately bring the boat to shore, and then give them the space. But it isn't about jumping out of the boat, because then it feels jarring and it feels unsafe. And then, you know, I love this metaphor of the sailing thing. But one thing that I wanted to add to this, Kitty, one thing that I wanted to add to this is, the last time that I went sailing, I was in the British Virgin Islands with some friends for a week, and we chartered our own boat. It was one of the most incredible experiences that I've had. And it was the first day we were there, and we were going towards an island, and very heavy wind and waters started developing. And we were still kind of getting used to each other and getting used to the boat. And there was no space to be other than present during that. And it was also exciting. It was exciting. You know, the boat was tipping on edge. And so, you know, we would get it all settled, and we would get it all, you know, where it wanted to be. And there was so much wind, you know, and the boat was literally on edge. The edge of the boat was maybe, you know, a few centimeters or a couple inches off the edge of the water. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And it is a memory that I still hold to this day with a tremendous amount of fondness. And it was that kind of stormy weather that wasn't quite a storm, but it was that kind of stormy weather. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because there's something to be experienced when we are in a storm that is loving, that is exciting, that is powerful. And though it's almost like learning how to navigate through that in a way so that we can trim our sails and we can manage it safely and easily, and then be able to hang out on the upper edge of the boat while it's cruising through the water in that wind, in those waves. And it's that learning to navigate. And it sounds like the way you just described it, Megan, is that Olivier was learning to navigate in your storms. And the beauty of it is that you allowed your storms to come through because you felt safe enough to do so. And so then it's this kind of symbiotic relationship of, I'm going to give it to you because you know what? I feel like I can. And then Olivier was on the back end of that going, all right, bring it on, baby. Let me figure out what to do with this. let me figure out how to navigate through this wind, through the storm, through these waters in a way that's loving and supportive.
Yeah. And then it allows us to sail in these like really exciting ways, because there's that like absolute knowing that we can do this.
It creates that foundation, and then you can go into bigger waves and more wind easily and enjoy it. Like, you know, at first it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It's all right, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. But then once we start getting into a rhythm and we start figuring out, okay, this isn't that scary, this isn't that big of a deal. We just need to be more present. We need to be more aware. We need to be more careful with how we are navigating. But then we can actually enjoy it. We can actually live through it beautifully with love, support, and anyway.
No, just to continue too, because there's something that sailing's taught me as well about these storms. And it was an experience I had in Australia. The first time I sailed, actually, it was a 12-hour day sailing down the east coast, really strong winds and a storm coming in. And when it came time to head inshore and go into the port we were aiming for, the motor wouldn't start and the sail broke. So all we had was the rudder, really. It was just like, what happens now? Should I be worried? You know, I've never sailed before. Should I be worried now? Because we got basically no means of getting anywhere where we want to go. And just at the moment where I thought, should we be worried? 2 dolphins jumped over the front of the boat, one from each side. And let me know, dude, you are fine. This is our playground. When the waves come, we just play more. And what that showed me was the presence of grace, you know, and this thing of like staying present on the boat through this storm. It allows the presence of grace to come and let us know that, yeah, everything's working out perfectly. You know, the boat is at its safest in the harbor, but that's not what it's designed for. It's designed to be out in the storms and sailing these winds and developing itself, you know, and the sailors developing their skills and their ability to handle emotionally as well as physically and with their knowledge of the wind. So like, absolutely, when these storms of emotions were here, it was like, I know that if I stay present and I stay loving, grace will come. Grace will come and we'll come back to the shore. We'll come back into a loving space again. You know, have faith, know that that trust and that grace is there.
Not always do we get the messages as obvious as 2 dolphins jumping over a boat. But
I had a free hand to take a photo. Oh man.
oh my God, that must have just been such an incredible vision to experience.
Yeah.
And again, just kind of continuing with this metaphor, when we are in these situations where it feels like, all right, the rudder's all I've got, you know, the sail's broken, the engine's not starting. Our higher self, spirit, source, energy of life will remind you that you're okay in some way, shape, or form. And part of what these conversations are about for me is as a reminder for all of us to allow ourselves to listen and to pay attention, to look for these signs so that we feel supported and so that we feel guided when we are at our worst. Because we always are supported and we always are guided. What tends to happen is that I get so caught up in the noise of the storm in our head that we don't listen for, we don't quiet ourselves down enough to listen for the guidance that's always there. The guidance that's always there to say, you got this. And maybe even give you directions. Maybe the dolphins could have started swimming in a certain direction, right? Go this way. But anyway.
You've told your kangaroo story, haven't you?
Not here.
There's a pretty good kangaroo story that did exactly that. Do you want to hear it?
I've been in Australia about a year and a half, and I was getting used to the land, the energy of the land, because it's such a powerful land. You know, the indigenous people of Australia have held the transmission of the star beings since the dream time. And I was starting to discover that for myself. And there was a time where I went to a national park, beautiful national park in central New South Wales. And I wanted to go and watch the sunset. So I looked on the map. Okay, where's a good point? Look, facing west, nice ridge, because the place where I was, Mount Capitar, it's an old volcano. So it comes out of the plains where they grow lots of cotton and things. They're really flat. But there's these beautiful old volcanic remnants. And so I found this amazing precipice. I was just on this grassy ledge. I'd walked out of the forest. It was about a 45-minute walk through the forest, and there was this grassy ledge, and there was an amazing valley below me filled with eucalyptus trees and really ancient woodland. And it felt like I was on Gondwana land, you know, like the ancient supercontinent that Australia is the remnant of. And out of the forest below me on the breeze were thousands, millions probably, of tiny spiders who were putting out their silks to catch the breeze. And there's this silken curtain both sides of me catching the rays of the setting sun. So that's going gold. So I've got this golden silk curtain in the sky next to me. It's just like, this is blowing my senses. Like, this is wild. And out of the forest comes a kangaroo, and he's just sitting there munching away. And I'm turning to him, I'm going, look at this, mate. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And he's like, yeah, whatever, mate. I see it every night. I'm like, yeah, okay. So it's me and the kangaroo watching this sunset. And sun goes down and it gets dark real quick, you know, in Australia. And I realized, oh, I didn't bring a torch. How am I going to get back through a 40-minute walk back through the forest with no torch? Oh, this is going to be interesting. So I just thought, well, I'll just try it step at a time. So I turn around. The kangaroo hops in front of me, looks at me, turns around and goes, follow me, nods his head. I'm like, okay. So he'd go hop, 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 like 3 or 4 hops, and wait for me to catch up. Hop, 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 3 or 4. If there was a corner in the path, like a switchback, he'd just go hop, hop through the thing and wait for me to go all the way around. And he took me back on this 45-minute walk back to my car. And when I get back to my car, his whole family's there. There's a dozen of them around my car, just all looking after it. Thanks. Like the moment I said thank you, they all just disappeared off into the forest. And it just
What an
blew my
amazing
mind.
experience.
Yeah. It was like this kangaroo just looked after me and he just saved me. And of course, it blew my mind. So I'm trying to understand it all. And when I went back home to Nimbin, the little village where I lived, it was market day and there was a group of Aboriginal dancers getting us all to do these different dances. You know, they dance the animals, you know, the emus and the goannas and things like that. And there's a guy there who I knew, I'd met him a few times. I really, really liked him. His name's Magpie. And I'm like, I'm sure Magpie's going to have an answer for me. I was like, Magpie, mate, this thing happened to me in the bush. Like, can you tell me what was going on? And he loved the story. And he was like, well, you know what it was, mate. You knew what you needed. He said, everything's connected. The kangaroo knew what you needed and he knew he could help you. So he did. It's like, it's that simple. Well, like, you know, just the universe brought me my solution and I just had to have an open heart. And the mad thing is, a few years later, I meet Megan. And
Who's a kangaroo?
yeah. She, after we've been together a few weeks, she says, oh, my sister went to Australia and she brought me back a stone. And can you see the stone there?
Can you see? I'm trying to get it with the light.
It's a picture, a really sort of lean looking guy.
With didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo.
Painted by
Magpie. So when we, like, all of the things that had to be in place for this story to come together, you know, they just blow our mind, don't they? Just like talk about like the dreaming is just so much broader and more amazing, as you were saying earlier, Daniel, than we could ever imagine. And there are these beautiful moments of synchronicities where we come into a space of realizing, oh, wow, like the pressure's off. Like the pressure is off. Everything's been worked out. There is a beautiful, beautiful destiny unfolding for us. And it's not destiny with a big D, you know, of just like, this is your destiny. It's like, it's the destiny. It's what we're creating. Like we're destined to receive this beautiful realization of who we are the moment that we step onto the path of love. Like that we love ourselves enough to let go of any identities we may have created or been given about ourselves. You know, that we love ourselves enough to grant ourselves freedom to be us, like the full realization of us. And just that moment, like of seeing that stone from Magpie, it's just like, I was supposed to meet you. Like, this is what we agreed before we even came in to this human journey, was we were supposed to meet.
Mm.
And here we are. And here we are, 10 years later. 10 years later.
And just as Olivier was saying about taking the pressure off, it really, like, as you were speaking, I just had that lovely remembering of, like, there's nothing serious going on. Like, there's nothing that's like really, really important. It's all just part of us playing, really. And sometimes there's just like a movie. I know that example is used a lot, but like sometimes it's drama, sometimes it's romance, sometimes it's like a thriller, sometimes it's like very like quiet and intimate and like nothing really happens. But it's nothing, none of it is really any more important than the rest of it. It's just playing. It's just playing and exploring and discovering more of who we are and how we fit in this incredible hugeness of something I don't even know if there are words for.
I love that.
There's an element where people looking at the world are where am I going with this? Let me say this differently. I love the example that you gave and give, Olivier, of being so attuned with life that life is your co-creator. Being so attuned to allow life, i.e. the kangaroo, to play with you as an equal, to play with you as a friend, to play with you as a companion on this journey. And isn't it wonderful to imagine that we will all be able to have experiences like that in the not too distant future? And that some of us already are having experiences like that. And this isn't an invitation for, oh, well, I'm never going to get there because Olivier is a master. I'm not. It isn't an invitation of, oh, well, he can do it, but I can't. And it's not an invitation of judgment of, oh, I'm not there yet, so there's something wrong with me. That's not what the invitation is. The invitation is really to revel in the story as a beautiful representation of who we are and who we can be.
There's someone that I meet with regularly. She was a trained professional ballerina until she was 20s, and then found that whole system like way too toxic and actually stopped dancing for 20 years. And she started again a few years ago. And I met her in an online community and just instantly felt like something is there. And it's about a year ago now. I think we started about this time last year, last March, that we began meeting. And I sing and I bring, I play, and she dances. And we usually have kind of a feeling of what the energy is there for us. It's usually just really personal, like this is how I've been feeling and this is what's arriving here now for me. And it's amazing how on point it is, like for both of us. It's very much in resonance. And I'm bringing this because of this piece that you brought, Daniel, about co-creating with life. Because there was something after one of our co-creations I usually have my eyes shut and I just like I allow myself to fully feel the energy so I don't get caught in like watching her move and trying to like guide her or mirror her or anything like that. It's just pure, like I just let it come through. And it's always like such a treat to then watch how completely in sync we are when I watch the recording. And there was something that we were talking about a few weeks ago that is just this co-creating with life, that she was saying it's amazing how even though there's times when my sound will change really dramatically, but she's often already felt that and she's moving in that way so that we're actually right in sync. And she sometimes feels that the words are coming out of her mouth. And I had like such a clear realization of how this isn't, you know, we kind of categorize things to make sense of things for our human brain. Like I do this mode of expression and she does this mode of expression. But actually, it's all the same language. And what's happening is spirit. Spirit is moving through us. You know, there's life is creating through us. It's not these separate modalities, it's one. And it's an incredible experience to like feel that play out. And I many times, in fact, some of you that are listening in right now, I think have even said that when you've experienced the light language that comes through me and sings through me, you're already hearing the words. And it's like you're, and always there's that feeling of it being so familiar. But I find that so amazing when I hear, like, I heard those sounds and words just before you sang them. And it's like, that's the co-creation. And it's beautiful.
And that's the testament to being open.
Innocent
to receiving,
and so innocent. Like not
Yeah.
having any expectation or agenda.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. And also there was another lesson learned through, I learned so much in this like co-creation space with this friend of mine. It's like I get to go into all the pockets that don't necessarily obviously show up in my daily life. It's like, oh, this is a really interesting space and place. And one of them was her daughters joined us. They were off school and they wanted to dance as well. And I immediately kind of went into this thing of like, oh, I want to accommodate their experience and I want to like make sure that I'm watching them and they feel okay with what I'm doing. And it was a bit like I got tired and I was just kind of finished earlier than I would normally. And my friend was a bit like, like I could feel she wasn't satisfied or satiated, you know, the way that we usually are. And she said, well, we're going to keep dancing. So if you want to hang out and sing some more, that would be lovely. Otherwise, we'll just put music on. So I stayed and I said, oh, do you know, I'm just going to close my eyes and do what I always do. And we all had such a different experience. There was no like trying to like, oh, I'll just like follow you and maybe you're following me. It's just like, no, we're in this co-creation. Like if I just let go of trying to make it okay or accommodate anything, like this is a lesson in pure presence. When I'm just purely in my in this presence that is a shared presence and feel the energy and allow that to come through and not try and make it anything, everyone has a great experience. And that is the beauty of co-creating rather than agenda creating.
There's a space where I'm going to do something that I tend to do in these conversations, which is challenge you a little bit, if I may. One of the things, I dance Argentine tango. And one of the things that I love about the dance is that though I am the leader, I am co-creating with my follower. And the relationship between the two it's pretty spectacular. It's one thing to create with the eyes closed and just do your thing and let the dancer align with what you're doing and you're both doing it synergistically with eyes closed, energetically. And it's another thing to create with eyes open in the same way. It's a different skill set. And I would
Agree.
challenge you to play with your friend without the kids and without the you trying to match her or you trying to accommodate her, but to co-create with eyes open. It's going to be a different experience for you. And I would challenge you to play with that because it's going to
Yeah.
open things up for you.
Yeah, thank you. And we do that sometimes. And it's definitely that piece of how, you know, I think we learn how to use our senses in this particular kind of reality that that is like the main lens of life on Earth at the moment. And it's, as you're saying, it's a completely new skill set. It's like relearning how you're seeing. And it's, you know, when a camera is, you know, one of the old school cameras and you're like, you have to kind of move it around a little bit. And then if the thing moves, then you have to move it a little bit more so it's in focus. And I think it's that same thing, that it's so easy to get pulled into what we're used to using our eyes for. That it's like, it's quite an amazing place to play with that, like readjusting of the lens.
Because also what we're seeing is the past. The time it takes for the light to reach the eye, travel along the optic nerve, to be and encoded by the brain, it's already the past.
Yeah.
So it's, find out how do we, take what is in the past, the very recent past, sure, and follow that into the now moment. How do we stay in the now moment when we're connecting to these senses?
That's really interesting, isn't it?
Showing us the past.
Because when I'm connecting, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, go ahead. I can follow up.
I was just going to say, when I'm connecting, like when I'm in that space, there are times when I'm like today, actually, it was a really interesting one. I felt very much that I was in, like, as you say, like in my own energy with it. And she said afterwards, that was really different. It was like you were riding a rainbow and I was riding that along with you. And usually it is very much that, and I love this because she's in the eastern side of the States, which is like quite far away from here. But we feel each other in such an incredible way that it's, if I was in my room on my own just singing, it would be not at all the landscapes that we explore when we're together. It's the combination that creates this. I was talking about it today, like a prism. I was saying I felt like this translucent body in a window, a light coming through. And there were these rainbows coming through it. And she was saying, yeah, it's like you're the prism. And I was like, but it's like you're the light. And without the light, that prism wouldn't be showing all those colors. And like, I just find this whole, this, you know, when you watch birds, like the murmurations, and I was just watching 4 parrots actually the other day, kind of not quite the same as a murmuration of like thousands of birds, but there's just this like just complete resonance, and no one's leading anybody else. It's just, they just know, like it's just creation, it's just life moving. And maybe that's where part of this whole journey, like that's where we're all heading with our navigation system. There's going to be many fine boats sailing on the ocean. But there is, you know, we're still very much in that learning ground, and like who's leading who, and how does this work, and what does this knob do? And it's like, wow, how exciting to think of the time when we are in that space of co-creative frequency as a collective on this earth.
Yeah. It's a beautiful playground. What I was going to say, which is a follow-up to something that Olivier mentioned, which is this idea of reacting to something that technically has already happened. Have you ever heard the stories of people talking about the batters in baseball?
I don't think so.
In baseball, there's, for people that aren't familiar with it, there's a person on the mound with a ball and throws the ball at the batter at close to 90 miles an hour and give or take. And scientists, and this is, again, how valid is this? I don't know. This is just a story that I heard. And I don't remember if I read this somewhere or if somebody told this to me. So take it with a grain of salt, but it's a nice thing to play with. Somebody did a study of how long does the human take to process things. So in terms of knowing, seeing the movement of the ball, seeing the movement of this, the brain's going to take X amount of time to process. And they added it all up together and they figured out that it is literally technically impossible for the batter to know where the ball is going to be to hit the ball, given the speed that it's coming in. And so what they're proposing is that they are jumping time in order to hit the ball, how and when they hit the ball, because they are going outside of the linear structure of, if everything was exactly how it was supposed to be, given how long it takes the human brain to process and to then send the messages back out to the muscles, the ball would already be passed before you would even swing. And it's just an incredible thing to play with, right?
Yeah.
And that points to the state of flow, you know, that state of oneness, of just ultimate beingness.
You do see it in sport really quite spectacularly, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love watching sport because these are people who are in that flow, you know, and exploring, or someone was running there, but, you know, jumping horses as well, that, you know, that connection between the rider and the horse. It's just, I say it's pure spirit flowing through them and the pure expression of spirit in that moment. And that's why it's so incredible to receive it and witness it, because it can bring us, it's like entrainment, you know, it entrains us into that state. And we can feel what that oneness is like.
And so Marge in the chat talks about how, again, backtracking a bit, when we were talking earlier about that connection with life, she says that sort of like jumping a horse, when we are airborne, I feel at one with the horse. It's quite a magical place to be. And then Pamela just added here, we are learning to develop and use all our senses and learning to use senses that we were not taught to recognize as acceptable. Right? And this ties into what I was suggesting Megan play with in her playground with her friend, to bring in the new senses that she is developing into the old senses so that the old senses can be brought along into the new. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's this idea that, you know, I love the play of, okay, now that we do this, let's see if we can do this in a slightly different way. I love that exploration. And for me, that the co-creation with somebody at a conscious level it's unbelievable. And again, I experience this through dance because I'm co-creating with my follower and we're both conscious of it. You know, and there are times when I close my eyes. I don't know how many leaders close their eyes in the middle of a dance floor. I tend to close my eyes, which I do it safely, so I'm not going to run into anybody, and I'm not going to, but I do close my eyes to feel and to react differently with my eyes closed. And so there's these times when I remember there was one time that I was dancing in London, and we were hired to perform for some gala event as kind of like background entertainment. So there was a meeting happening above in some hotel, and then they were going to come down for snacks. And during the snacks, we were going to be dancing, and there was a live band that was playing. And while we were waiting, they started playing. And so I started dancing with one of my friends that I was with. And after I finished dancing, one of the people in the band said to me, I can't believe that you did what you did, because very few people can dance to this rhythm. They were playing a rhythm that was unlike a standard rhythm. And so they were experimenting and playing themselves. And she was surprised that I was able to follow along and respond accordingly to this change in the rhythm. And it felt like it was a co-creation, right? When I dance to music, it's like I'm anticipating the music that's coming. And I've never heard the song before. But like you were saying earlier, you can feel where it's going. You can feel what's the next step to take. You can feel, oh, okay, where am I going with this? And you know, number of times that people have said to me, oh, well, do you really know that song? I'm like, I've never heard it before in my life. But it's that aspect of really being so in tune with and in the flow that you can perceive things without really internalizing it, analyzing it, questioning it, but you're just responding ahead of it, as if you knew what was coming, even though it hasn't happened.
Thank you, Daniel, for bringing that. And going back to what Pamela was saying too, a friend of ours in Cornwall, she teaches children to read blindfolded, where they can put their hand on the book and they can receive everything that is encoded into the book. And she said it's magical because there's another presence that comes into the room when they're doing this. And I feel this is it, you know, this is letting life live through us. You know, it's just going to amplify and just become more and more amazing as we realize these things, as we realize ourselves. You know, we realize ourselves in these ways that we have these abilities and faculties that are called, you know, extra sensory perception, but it's like, it's life. Like it's all there in the quantum field. It's all there, however you want to describe it. So relax and allow yourself to be lived, to be dreamed. Yeah.
You guys feel like playing some music for us?
Oh yeah, there you go. I just got there at the same time as you. Wicked. So we'll allow ourselves to have the music play us. Mm. Mm. Thanks. Yeah. So please feel free to relax and receive as we bring through a transmission. Mm.
And as you just take a few moments, just in an easy breathing, allowing yourself to just settle into a quiet deep inside. Feeling the energy of what has lit up for you in this conversation. Like a magic world unfurling within you. And as you soften the muscles of your body by softening around your eyes and your jaw, resting your eyes, resting your tongue. Knowing that this is a gateway as you become more receptive with softness. A deepening, a widening, an allowing. And you may even wish to Just have a consciousness of a curiosity that you might have. Just let that be there in that magical internal landscape unfurling. Siamia ira traui o soyamai o moro traui o sanina e tandere. I'm I try sanando y suruai mirai e deep in the belly of the beingness, deep in the belly of the beingness, there is the Ancient One, And deeper within, the spark of new, indeed, innocence. Deep in the belly of beingness. All is known. Relax through your sit bones. Sense your sacred bone, your sacrum, as you lean back, belly soft, wide into the great field, the great ocean. That you are. Iasho ma'aya. Tiara chusyamyo ika trayashasya. Eta yashusyami itra yashusyami inkara trayashusya na itra. Golden drops like stars pouring in through your third eye, through your whole body. Every cell drinking in this golden starlight. Ira shusyamya ika inroya shusyamya iwu itayangaya shusya. Imya ukuya ashasya yatanira shusyamya ikuratraya shusya yana. Enyana ikoya samaumo yatachi tanyendroye ma ikiyatana. Sensing the spaciousness within, the clarity and purity.
And just as night follows day, your beautiful planet is in a cosmic dance with the sun. So it is in each moment. There is a new you revealing itself. Will you allow this one?
And this one.
And this one?
And this one.
Will you allow this one to shine? Will you allow this one to bring their presence to this moment? Why not play? Play with the new one who shows herself in each moment.
Your heart like a great guiding light.
Your beingness knows where the greatest joy is.
Let your mind listen to this playfulness, this beingness, like watching a sunset or a sunrise or rain on the ocean.
is eternal. You came here to bring your frequency, your unique frequency, to this cosmic dance. It's time to play. It's time to be you.
So as you just take a few moments, you might want to feel a whole flow, a whole ocean of yeses rolling through your body. Yes, 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 yes. And noticing the sensations of your body, of your field, your energy. And we thank you for this beautiful co-creation.
So I want to share something that getting an echo.
Wait one moment. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you. I want to share something that was given to me as an invitation when listening to light language. Play with feeling into the meaning of it. And as I was listening to what was coming through, what it felt like to me, what it felt like was a story. And when I asked, what is the story? What came to me was, this is your story. This is the story about you, meaning us. This is our story. That was our story being told to us. We were being reminded of who we are.
Thank you, Dana. What I love, technology is incredible, hey, what it can do. Zoom put up a little notification saying, it looks like you've changed your language that you're speaking with. Please define it so that we can do the transcription. And it's just as you said, technology cannot tell us anything. Even what's written down cannot tell us the truth of who we are, the story that we are telling. Even we can't even know it until we live it, until we live it in the moment. That is our story. That is what's alive here. It was a beautiful little moment. So yeah, thank you for bringing that, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kitty, for what you were doing.
So thank you guys for coming to play again and for sharing the
Mm.
space with us.
Mm. Mm.
If people want to play with you more intimately, how
Mm.
can they reach out to you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
purelovefrequency.com. I'll write it in the chat. purelovefrequency.com. Send us an email. Get in touch. Love hearing.
What do you want to put the email address in there as well?
Oh, yes.
That's love@purelovefrequency.com. Mm. Mm.
And so
Mm.
as we are approaching the end of this beautiful conversation, anything else you guys want to add or want to share that would feel right for you guys to do so at this time?
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Stillness and silence, to really gift ourselves that presence, to allow ourselves into the quietness more times a day, more times in the night, just more and more times. There's so much here for us in the quiet and the stillness.
And we can be in that quiet and the stillness internally, even when externally we might be in a very, what's the word? Expanded state. And we might be bringing a lot of action into our present moment. Nonetheless, if we've held that connection to the stillness within and the presence of who we are, we can hold that, we can be that. And there's nothing to fear. There's nothing ever to fear. Course in Miracles says it beautifully. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. The only thing that is true here is our eternal soul. Let's go play. Let's play in innocence, in joy, in grace. Let's play.
There's a invitation for you guys on the website where they're offering a package of, or a bundle. Would you like to speak about that a little bit?
Sure, it's our bliss bundle. So over end of 2022 to the end of 2023, we were running seasons of Blissful Unity, which were 6-week programs where we would play live transmissions.
Some of the people on the call right now have been on that journey with us, and we're just so grateful to see you and know what unfolded for you in those journeys. It was such an incredible time together.
So we put those seasons together in a bundle. So there's like 18 plus transmissions of about 75 to 90 minutes each, that is there on the website. And for you guys, we've got a little special.
You can get 11% off. So it's use the code BLISS11. I'll write it in the chat. And you can get a discount on that. That's to say thank you for being with us today and being open to receive this beautiful pure love frequency that comes through us, that we know transforms individuals, yes, it transforms our lives when we do it. And it transforms the planet, because as one person frees themselves, then the whole world becomes free. So please do, if that calls to you, dive into the Bliss Bundle. Oh, and also the first 3 people to purchase it, you can have a complimentary session with either myself or with Megan. So that's an opportunity just to go really deep with one of us and to receive a beautiful transmission and allow that to be part of the journey with that Bliss Bundle and ongoing.
There's a number of beautiful messages in the chat for you guys to take a look at.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm going to share one, which is, this was truly beautiful and words fail me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my experience when I first came across Megan and Olivier. I was left speechless afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Just bathing in the beauty of what I was feeling. I didn't know how to put that in words.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, thank you all for being here. Thank you both for being here. And I'll leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.
Beautiful. Thank you, Daniel. It's such a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone who has been live on the call with us today. Let's say it is a co-creation. We feel you. And your presence is such a gift. It is such a gift. Thank you. It's a joy to receive your presence and to be with you in this sacred place of open-hearted sharing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Lots of love to you all. Bye-bye.
So much love.
Thank you for being part of this incredible experience. We hope that this session has inspired a new level of understanding within you, allowing you to expand more easily into the essence of your true self and become an even more powerful alchemist in your own life. We invite you to listen to the session again and again in order to go deeper each time and expand even more. Have it be via the replays or the unlimited access package. If you have enjoyed being part of this event, we invite you to tell your friends so that they can join us in the future. We are grateful that you are here, and we thank you for co-creating this experience with us. Until next time, we leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.